Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om.
Namaste, Swamiji. And we have
Namaste.
Babuji's question from the last week. Before going to that, today is Ganesh Chathurthi, big celebration in our community, in our samskara. So the question on the table is, like, we have several main important streams of sadhanas in our community, in our Vaishnavas, Shaivas, as well as Shakteyas, and Ganapatya Shaka. That means the Ganapati is one of that, but not. It feels like it is a little bit obscure or not as prominent as the other 3 or 4 stream of upasanas. Could you please shed some light about the Ganapatya way of upasanas and everything?
See, earlier means I cannot say when it began, but there were different streams of upasanas, or rather, we can use the term sect. Different sects were there within the Sanatana Dharma. Even though there was and there is and there will be only one Ishvara, and all devatas are parts of that, or we can well describe as the Sattvika, Rajasika and Tamasika bhavas of one and the same Ishvara is described as different devatas. And the very Shruti declares Sad Ekam. The absolute reality is one without a second. And that Paramatma, that Parameshwara is being worshipped in different names, different forms. So, Rishis, they realized, or they had the knowledge that through all devatas, one and the same Paramatma is meant. As described by Yaskahinis in Nirupta, Ekasya Atmano Anya Devaha Pratyangani Bhavanti. Anya Devaha Pratyangani Bhavanti Ekasya Atmanaha. All devatas are parts of the one Paramatma or Parameshwara. But what happened? In course of time, this knowledge that Ishvara is one without a second, and all devatas are different aspects of that one Ishvara, somehow that knowledge, I am not saying it vanished, but somehow in the society it went down. And what happened? Different sects evolved, and many infights started beginning. Fights between Vaishnavas and Shaivas, Shakteyas, Ganapatiyas, Sauras, Kantas. But see, Ganapati and Subramanya, that is Skanda, they comes within the they come within the ambit of Shaiva, because they are family members, or they are included in the Shiva family. So of course within Shaiva comes this Ganapati and Subramanya. And so even though Ganapatya and Skanda were distinct sects, even though it was so, from a wider or from a higher perspective, they also belong to Shaiva cult. So mainly Shaiva, Vaishnavas and Shakteyas were there. And Saura, somehow, their development is, it was not that much in Bharata. Why, I don't know. That Surya was considered as the greatest Devata, and so many mantras are there in Rigveda Samhita itself in praise of Surya. Still, as a cult or as a group, the development was that much as Shaivas or Vaishnavas. And in course of time, these infights increased, and it was in such a time, that juncture, Bhagavan Bhashyakara came to protect or preserve Sanatana Dharma. Instead of criticizing, or instead of removing, we can use that word aptly, removing, instead of removing this cult or the advocates of these cults, what Bhagavan Bhashyakara did, he explained and expounded the very base of Sanatana Dharma, Veda, and he taught to the general society, to the common society in general, and to scholars in particular, that these are not separate or quarreling or alien groups. All these are part and parcel of Sanatana Dharma, Vaidika Dharma. And what he did was a sort of synthesis. He protected these matas as they are, didn't destruct anything, any belief, any worship pattern, but at the same time he synthesized without distracting the inner aspects. And all these Shanmata are part and parcel of Vaidika Dharma. So he taught. And that teaching was widely accepted. Before that, there were many quarrels, infights, even battles were there for getting the custodianship of huge temples. But after that, such fights were not that much prevalent. Even then some fights were there, especially in southern parts of Bharata. Some fights were there in between Vaishnavas and Shaivas. That happened. But Ganapatya and Skanda as a part of Shaiva developed. And how, I do not know. When we consider temple worship and when we consider mantropasana, both temple worship and mantropasana, in almost all lineages, sampradayas, the worship of Ganapati is there. You take a Shaiva temple, you take a Vaishnava temple, you take a Shakti's temple, Ganapati will be there. And the worship of Ganapati was widely accepted by all these groups. That we can see. There is not even a single temple where Ganapati is not worshipped. In almost all temples, Ganapati is there. If you take the temple worship pattern of Kerala, whichever be the Kshetresha there, whether he be Vishnu or Shiva, and even it is where it is Ganapati himself, there will be a place separate for Ganapati. In the southwestern corner, there will be Ganapati's Pratishtha. So worship of Ganapati is that much prevalent. And in Mantropasana also, in many sampradayas, sadhakas will be initiated with or to the Upasana of Ganapati. And see, irrespective of the differences between Vaishnavas or Shaivas or Shaktayas, in the beginning of almost all havans, Ganapati Havan is prescribed, and they will do that. So what we can see is, even though Ganapatya as a cult is not that much widespread as a cult, but the worship of Ganapati is widely accepted by all. So in our heart of heart and in our upasanas, Ganapati is having a prominent place and stature. That is there. Nobody can question that. And in some places, like Maharashtra, worship and things connected with Ganapati, that spread like anything. And in the heart of heart, Ganapati is there installed. And that is why Balagangadhara Tilakanji, for realizing his inner dream to get the land free, to get independence from British colony rule, what he did, he developed this system or custom of Ganesha Puja on this Vinayaka Chathurthi. And as a medium of uniting everybody and thereby channelizing that unity for the independence of Bharat, this Vinayaka Chathurthi celebration was we can say, inaugurated. by Tilaganji in Maharashtra. Slowly, people of other places also followed, and now it's a big celebration. Almost all parts of Bharat, we are having Vinayaka Chathurthi celebration, Ganesha Chathurthi celebration nowadays. But this year, because of this COVID situation, huge meetings are not allowed. Even then, pujas are going on there everywhere. So we cannot say Ganesha and the worship of Ganesha is not that much widespread. We cannot say that. On the other hand, Ganesha and Ganesha worship is everywhere. Even when Shaivas and Vaishnavas are fighting or were fighting, in both their temples, Ganapati was there, well protected. So, like Pranava, Ganapati is omnipresent. Ganapati is omnipresent. So that is the fact. Namaste. Any other aspects of this? Any other aspects of this concept? If we want to discuss, we can discuss.
And one thing you spoke was touching, like in all the mandropasanas, all like in Veda mantras, all when starting with Ganapati and everything.
Yeah.
So even everything. So that is very insightful, Swamiji. So I would like to go to Babuji's question next. So Babuji.
Yeah.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste.
Swamiji, a few weeks back, when we had discussed, you had mentioned that for a sadhak, you go from dharana to dhyana stage, sort of, you mature into the dhyana stage automatically. Now, for an ordinary sadhak, that is the most difficult path. So I was wondering whether you could explain that a little more further, what we should do and what we should not probably do to, tread that path.
Yeah. So this is the most important stage in a sadhaka's life. We can reach to the state of dhyana through many ways. For example, Shravana and Manana. That is hearing from a guru and contemplating the inner meaning of that Shravana. It will take us to a state of dhyana. There is no doubt in that. And pujas, mantropasanas, mantra japas, all these will take a sadhaka to the state of dhyana. But when we go through Yoga Shastra, and that too, according to the teachings of Bhagavan Patanjali Maharshi, we will see that the stage dharana is taking us to the state of dhyana. That is, the states enumerated there or explained there are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, then dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So here, these 8 angas are there in the Yoga Shastra. So it is called Ashtanga Yoga. And we cannot demarcate, or we cannot put these angas to watertight compartments and say this much is lower and this much is higher. We cannot say, because the one is leading us to the two, or the first is leading us to the second, and second is leading us to the third. So we cannot say where the third begins and where the second ends, because it is a natural or a spontaneous void. Still, our acharyas are dividing to Bahirangas and Antarangas. So first 5 angas are Bahirangas, and the last 3 angas are Antarangas. And one more thing we have to keep in mind, these 3 Antarangas together, that is Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi together, they make Samyama. So what is Samyama is? Samyama is Dharana plus Dhyana plus Samadhi. That makes Samyama. And yogis are getting many siddhis through this Samyama Abhyasa. Now let us come to the topic. So here, what is Dharana? Dharana is Desha Bandha Chittasya Dharana. Dharana is defined as Desha Bandha Chittasya Dharana. There in that sutra, by the word Chitta, mind, intellect, that is Manaha, Buddhihi, then Chitta and Ahankara. All these are meant. That is the inner instrument of knowledge we have to take as a whole. We cannot divide to Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. No. We have to take as a whole. So, our Antakarana, we can say so, inner instrument of knowledge. So, what we are trying here, we are trying to have Desha Bandha. Bandha means locked. Desha means a place. By the term place, we can mean some spot, some point, some name, some form, some part of our own body, whatever it be it. Some desha we have to select. For example, for a bhakta, for a devotee, he can select the form of his Ishta Devata. For example, and another bhakta can select the name or some mandrakshara of his Ishta Devata, some bijakshara of his Ishta Devata. But as per Yoga Shastra, these are not there. Patanjali has not written so, but we can take such explanations. Or we can select some spots in our own body, like the tip of nose or the middle part of our eyebrows, like that. Thing is this much, it must help us to focus our attention. So all the indriyas, all the senses of knowledge are attracting us to different objects. That is there. And amongst the pancha vishayas, that is 5 objects of attraction, where the senses are grazing. The first is sound, because it is the guna of akasha, the first bhuta. But even then, As for human beings, eyes are the doors through which we are going out. Mostly, majority of our going here and there happens through our eyes. And so, for a sadhaka who is practicing dharana, what is first required is he must select a spot on which he can focus through his eyes. So fixing eyes means you can fix all other senses. It is the first thing. The fixing eyes on a specific point. So let us take the tip of the nose, nasigagram. Samprekshya nasigagram svam tishaschan avalokayan. So says Bhagavad Gita also. So we can take this tip of the nose. So a sadhaka is sitting in a pose which is acceptable for him. Acceptable for him means mind is not wandering here and there. He can easily sit. And if that is an asana, if he is sitting in an asana, what is the lakshana or the definition of an asana? Asana is sthira sukham asana. Asana is not something you are doing with the help of Atha Yoga Shastras. No. Of course, they are asanas. There is no doubt. But here, what is meant by asana is, for the purpose of higher sadhanas, what is meant by asana is sthira sukham asana. You can sit for a longer period with ease. With ease. If leg is paining, or if some parts of your body is paining, your concentration will go there. It won't focus on that point where it should be. So our asana must be sthira and sukha. And after sitting in such a pose, asana, you are trying to focus on a point. So in that stage, that is the stage of dharana, active involvement is there. Involvement of mind, involvement of senses. And we must have that conviction within, and we must practice. Both are there. We are trying again and again, because when we are trying to fix the mind at a point, immediately it will jump for that. It will go here and there in search of many things. So we have to take it back. Yato yato nischarati manas chanchalam astiram. From that point, we have to bring it back. And again, we are asking it to sit, to focus. Again, it will go. Again, we will have to take it back. So this practice is there. This is the abhyasa of dharana. So if we are doing it for a long period, or constantly we are doing, slowly, what will happen? It will make a samskara within, and the mind will be focused without effort. So in the state of dharana, effort is there. We have to put in more and more effort. How far the mind is wandering, so much we have to put effort to bring it back and to focus. But when it is established, when mind is not wandering here and there, what is the state of antakarana now? That is tatra pratyayaikatanata dhyanam. Tatra, there, where in that point or at that point where we were trying hardly with effort to focus in that spot. Now our mind is established without any effort, and all the waves of our mind, that is pratyaya, all the waves of our mind, they are moving to one point. They are focused in that point. They are not going here and there without effort. That is the main point. That point we have to underline, without effort. So effortless, now it has become. That is the state of dhyana. That is dhyana. So we are reaching to the state of dhyana through dharana, and at the state of dharana, effort is there. Whereas when dhyana is established, there is no effort. Without any effort, it is staying there. So now, in this stage, our intellect, our mind, all our instruments are under our perfect control. Under our perfect control. This will lead to the next stage, which is samadhi. So what is the difference here? In the state of dhyana, dhyata is there. I am doing dhyana. Dhyayam is there. I am focusing on that point. That is dhyayam. And the process of dhyana is there. So dhyata, dhyanam and dhyayam are there. These triputi are there. When this differentiation vanishes and our mind established like a flame, where there is no wind, there is no movement of air, that is the state of samadhi. So dharana will take us to dhyana, and in the state of dharana, effort is there, effort must be there, and our mind is focused without any effort in the state of dhyana. That is the difference. So it is the most important or the main stage in the life of a sadhaka. And therefore, this is much difficult when we observe from a lower plane. But it is not difficult if we are going through the stages step by step with the teaching of the Guru, and if we are practicing and that urge is there within, because it is a natural growth, or it is a natural evolution. It happens. So what we have to do is practice dharana well. Practice dharana well. And that practice will take us to dhyana. That is the difference between dharana and dhyana, and that is the answer for your question. Namaste.
Namaste, Swamiji. The next
Namaste.
question is Shaji ji. Shaji.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Namaste. Namaste.
Swamiji, I have two questions, and these questions are a little bit of interconnected as well. So I will start with my first question. The first question is from a Vedic perspective of creation. Every soul was in a Chidananda level, right? So when every soul was in a total bliss, what was the real need for creation for the Lord? We could all remain in the same everlasting bliss. And there was no need to be born again and the whole cycle of samsara to kick in and go back, right? So that was my first question. And the second question is about, I can't remember where I read it. I read it in a magazine about saying that if a person attains mukti, it could be a videha mukti or a jivan mukti. And when the soul goes back, I think it's according to Brihadaranyaka or Chandogya Upanishad, I could be wrong. It says that when the soul goes back to the source, when the soul is completely expends all the virtues, and if it runs of virtues, the soul is reborn again. So I wasn't sure about that. So I just wanted to know your perspective and a little bit of more clarification on the second part of my question as well. Thank you.
Namaste. Before creation, all souls were in a state of absolute bliss. And if it was so, why creation happened? And if creation happened, what is the state of those souls now? I cannot accept that the souls were in a state of absolute bliss before creation. Before creation, after creation, and after dissolution, what remains is bliss. But now it is bliss. A bliss is not coming and going. It is there. And when we observe from the state of or the point of Sat, that is existence absolute, nothing has happened. Because Sat was there, Sat is there, and Sat will be there. This idea is elaborated, well explained by Bhagavan Bhashyakara in the Bhashya for Chandogya Upanishad. There, Sadeva Someda Magra Asid Ekameva Dutiyam. That is the mantra. Oh my dear, Sadeva Idam Agra Asid. Before the manifestation of all these names and forms, that is, before creation, Sad Eva Asid. What was there, Sat alone was there. That is the absolute existence. Existence absolute was there. That is the mantra. So in the Bhashya to that mantra, Bhagavan Bhashyakara questions. So after creation, what happened? Has it changed to something else? No. Even now, when we are observing the Sat as having names and forms and having so many differences, even then Sat is Sat. No transformation has come to Sat. Being the Sat, it is being viewed as many. Just like when we are taking the example of the clay and pot. Different types of pots are there. And their uses are different. one type of vessel is suitable for one purpose, it is not suitable for another purpose. And for that purpose, there are another type of vessels or other creations. And we are using different names for them. So different names, different forms, and different purposes. But still, it is nothing but clay. It was clay, it is clay, and even after breaking those names and forms, it will be clay only. In the same way, existence absolute is not at all changing. It is not becoming something else. No, there is no transformation for that. So the existence absolute remains the same always. You cannot make a piece of gold. You cannot make a piece of gold to gold chain. When it is a gold chain, it is gold. You cannot change that. The substratum remaining the same, we are attributing names and forms, and that attributing the name and form is the process of creation. Inner existence, it never changes. So what is realization? Or what is moksha? Or what is taking us out of this the cycle of transmigration? What is that? Realization that I am the Sat, Chit and Ananda. Realizing I am Sat, Chit and Ananda, my real nature is absolute existence, absolute knowledge, and absolute bliss. That is my real nature. I am not at all limited. No adjunct can limit me. I am above all limitations. But because of so many superimpositions out of ajnana, ignorance, I am attributing or I am superimposing many limitations upon me. The limitless. That is the truth. That is the fact. So there is no such a question of coming out of Paramatma as Jivatma and living here the life of a Jiva and going back to Paramatma. No. Paramatma cannot be divided into parts. If we say we are parts of Paramatma, we are parts of Paramatma, and not knowing that we are parts of Paramatma is the bondage. And knowing or realizing that we are parts of Paramatma and going back to the state of Paramatma is moksha. If we are saying so, that is the philosophy of Vishishtadvaitis. If we are saying so, it invariably follows that Paramatma is divisive. If Paramatma is divisive, that is, it can be divided to parts. It cannot be Sat. It cannot be Sat. So Paramatma will become Asat. How we can accept that? So the philosophy or propositions which are saying that we are coming as parts of Paramatma and living in this world, and through upasana, through knowledge, we are going back to Paramatma. And after reaching Paramatma, we will be dissolved there. We will become again a part of that as a whole. As a whole. But that proposition we cannot accept, because if we are accepting that, then what follows invariably is Paramatma is something divisive. It can be divided into pieces. Then it will become asat. But such darshanas are there. Many acharyas are teaching such darshanas. Of course, they have freedom to teach. We are respecting them all, because everybody must have places to hanker, places to stay, because everybody cannot climb to the height of Advaita. Only a few. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatamapi siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. So says Bhagavan. So for others, there must be some places to linger, to stay. So all the philosophies, all the stages of darshanas, and all patterns of worship, all must be here. We are respecting all of them. But at the same time, respecting is one thing and accepting is something else. I am respecting, but I cannot accept that view. So Paramatma cannot be divided into parts. It will be against all Shrutis and the logic, and of course Anubhava of real Darshanikas. So coming from Paramatma and going back to Paramatma, such propositions we cannot accept. But at the same time we are respecting, and such philosophies must be there. That is the answer. From this we can deduce other aspects as answers to your question. So this is the base from which we can reduce different aspects of answers to your question. Namaste.
Namaste, Swamiji. Next question is Kamalaji. Kamalaji, can unmute yourself. You are on mute. Kamalaji, you are on mute.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste.
Please just explain the Sankalpa of Yajna based on the 4th chapter. Brahmarpanam starting, there are about 6 verses, 6-7 verses. Just what is the connection?
See, for getting purity of mind and sharpness of intellect, and thereby to realize the reality, these are from the point of view of the individual, and from the point of view of the society, for the well-being of the society. For all these, yajnas are prescribed. Different types of yajnas are there, like Dravya yajna, Tapo yajna, Yoga yajna, Swadhyaya yajna. So many types of yajnas are enumerated there in Bhagavad Gita. And for a man of realization. There is nothing other than a yajna. That is for him, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnav, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva tena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. That is his state. That is what is being offered, or the process of offering. That is Arpanam. That is Brahman. There is no Arpanam which is something different from Brahman, separate from Brahman. No. Arpanam is inseparable from Brahman. So he is seeing Arpanam as Brahman. And what is being offered? Havihi. And what is that? That also is Brahman. So initially there were many other Havi. Ajya was there, pure ghee, and different types of Havihi were there, made from rice. But now he realizes, no, Havi also is Brahman. That is, there is no Havihi separate from Brahman. And the Agni, the fire, where we are offering, it also is Brahman. So there is no fire other than Brahman, or there is no Brahman other than the fire. So here he is realizing one and same Brahman in all, in everything. And who is doing this? Brahmana Hutam. Who is offering? Who is doing this yajna? Brahmana Hutam. By the Brahman. So earlier there was a karta, that is a doer, and the feeling of doership was there. And only because of that doership, he started doing yajna. Only because of that doership was there. Yajna happened because of that. Now he realizes the doer also, really, it is Brahman. And what is the goal? What is the aim? Where we have to reach through this yajna? Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. The end point or the goal is Brahman. And how we can reach that point? That also is through Brahman. Brahma karma samadhina. So here, at this point, or at this state of realization, there is nothing other than Brahman. So one who is established in that knowledge, steadfast in that knowledge, for him there is no yajna. There is no karma ordained. He is above the realm of do's and don'ts. Shabda Brahmadi Vartate. He is above Shabda Brahma. So he is well established in Brahma, and even his very existence his words, his we can say even the process of inhaling and exhaling. Everything connected with him are nothing but yajna. So he is not performing yajna. He cannot perform yajna. He will not perform yajna. He is the embodiment of yajna. And therefore he is above yajna. But this is the ultimate state. So teaching this to general public, it won't help, because they have to have purity of mind, sharpness of intellect. There are many impurities within, and we have to remove those impurities. And for that, different types of yajna are advocated in the Vedic lore. And here in the Bhagavad Gita also, so many yajnas are enumerated. There, after showing the highest state of a Brahmanishta as a very embodiment of yajna, and therefore he is not doing any yajna, after showing that, Bhagavan is explaining or enumerating different types of yajnas, like Daivameva pare yajnam yogina paryupasate brahmagnava pare yajnam yajnenaivopajuhvate. Then Shrodradin indriyanyanye samyamagnishu juhvate shabdadin vishayananya indriyagnishu juhvate sarvani indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yogagnau juhvati jnana dipite dravya yajnastapo yajnaha yoga yajnastatthapare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha. And after enumerating all these, Bhagavan is saying yataya samsita vrataha. And there is a pranayama considered as a yajna. That is apane juhadi pranam, prane panam tathapare, pranapana gatirudhva pranayama parayanaha. Apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati. Sarve piyate yajna vido yajna kshapita kalmashaha. So from shloka 24, or we can say from shloka 25 to shloka 30, these 6 shlokas, many types of yajna are enumerated, and how we can connect them to the Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi. That is a matter to be discussed, and I think we can begin with this topic in our next session, that is next Saturday, because we cannot finish that, because there are 6 shlokas there. I think we can take that next Saturday. Namaste.
Namaste, Swamiji. We can conclude.
Namaste. We can conclude. Yeah. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhaveda. Om Shanti Shanti, Shanti.